Welcome back to Not Quite My Tempo with Chris. We just got the release of Supergirl last weekend, the second film in James Gunn's DCU that started last year, a new universe of DC films oversaw by Gunn, with him directing a number of the first four projects. Today I'm going to rank the four projects in this DCU so far, two movies and two TV shows. This universe is still so new, so it's also sort of exciting evaluating how things have been so far. I'll probably update this ranking every few projects or so. I'm really hopeful about this universe as a big James Gunn fan. Let's get right into this. I will spoil some things here and there. In last place, unfortunately, I'm going to go with the latest project and second film in the DCU, this weekend's Supergirl. Like I said in my review, there's some redeeming qualities of this film, and overall, I don't think it's a disaster or anything that extreme, just a very mediocre comic book blockbuster. With the good, there is some decent expansion of the cosmic DCU, with it taking place in the space criminal underworld, with pirates and outlaws and things like that. It has somewhat of a different vibe than Superman with this setting, and the character of Kara as well. Millie Alcock gives a strong performance here, bringing the toughness and sarcasm of this character, while also showing some sadness in how she's dealing with what she went through in her life with her experience with the destruction of Krypton. The flashbacks showing how different the first years of her life were from Clark's helped to expand the lore of the world and add some depth to this character. I enjoyed the character and am excited to get more from her. Her relationship with Clark also adds a lot of emotion to both of them and the bond they share. There's scenes here in David Cornsweet's performance I found really meaningful. The movie also has a fun vibe and some cool moments where the music kicks in and stuff like that. But that's also some issue here. It has a very generic blockbuster vibe with a weak story and side characters that doesn't really add anything new to the genre. Last year's Superman had so much depth with so many characters and the themes it was exploring, building this very comic booky DCU world, and had so much unique style from James Gunn. This movie feels like such a basic space adventure with Supergirl. The themes of revenge and grief aren't explored in the most compelling way, and the villain here is as forgettable as can be. There's just not a ton in this story to really get invested in. You do have Kara as a strong lead, but her adventure she goes on in this movie and the emotions are very lacking. The action is also weak. It doesn't use her powers in creative ways like Superman did, with the laser eyes, the flying, and cold breath and stuff like that. There's glimpses of that, but it's mostly her punching and kicking on the ground with a lot of visual noise and poor CGI and green screen at points. There's also some metal weapons like axes and blades that I suppose are different from what we saw in Superman, but she's Kryptonian. I really wanted to see more powers mixed into the action. This movie just has not much it does really well. There's some solid parts. It's not awful, but it's such a mediocre script. At number 3, I'm going to go with Peacemaker Season 2. I'm just going to include Season 2 as part of this since Season 1 came out during the old regime of DC. It gets kind of confusing there, but they kind of solved it with the retcon and the recap in the first episode of Season 2. It's weird how the seasons work, but I'm only going to include Season 2 because it came out after Gunn fully took over. If I was including Season 1 or ranking the seasons separately, I would have Season 1 higher. I still enjoyed a lot of parts of Season 2. For the first part of the season, the setup was really promising. The idea of Christopher Smith using the multiverse and finding a universe where his father loved him and his brother was alive, a universe where he can be a hero. The arc of this season that really picks up from last season of Chris dealing with his dark past, trying to be better than he was before. This character really has gotten so much more depth and complexity since being introduced in the Suicide Squad. This season really adds to that as well. It's a smart multiverse idea, Chris getting this thing he thinks he wants, and then it turns out to be the thing he's sworn against and not someone he wants to be. Having his friends have to come save him and him realizing how important he is in their lives as he deals with his self-hatred leads to some very powerful moments with the whole group and some really great moments within the team individually. The government plot of this season had me interested for a bit. When it got too distracted and jokey, like with the Michael Rooker stuff, I lost a lot of interest there. But it tied into the larger world of the DCU and the government there while having a meaningful continuation of Chris's arc. The finale is where the season really gets weird. All the music stuff feels very out of nowhere, and it feels very rushed with how the government ends up using the multiverse technology and everything. The stuff with Chris and the 11th Street kids in the finale with the character moments is amazing. The way it wraps up the plot of this season and how rushed it was very strange though. It kind of comes out of nowhere. This season has some greatness in it, but also some big problems that hold it back. It really didn't nail the finale, and it was a weird place to end on with him getting stuck in the other universe. I'm curious to see where that goes, but even that felt rushed. A really weird season, but one with some of James Gunn's biggest strengths in it as well. At number 2, I'm going to go with Creature Commandos. This was technically the first project in the DCU. It's a show on HBO Max that released before Superman last year. Superman is the massive summer film that is more symbolically the start of the universe. This is just technically the first project, and it's overall pretty solid with some moments of beautiful James Gunn creativity and emotion. The overall story is the Suicide Squad setup, with the sort of gimmick being that the team is made up of non-human characters. You have the Bride of Frankenstein, Weasel, G.I. Robot, and more. They're led by Rick Flag Sr. as part of Task Force X. You get animated Amanda Waller, and it really takes place in that shady government side of the DCU that the Suicide Squad films and Peacemaker take place in. And this is really just another Suicide Squad setup, with the team getting sent on this mission into hostile territory, and they start off annoyed with the mission and each other, and they end up growing closer and saving the day together. The actual mission on this island and the whole conspiracy isn't very memorable. I honestly can't tell you too many of the twists and big events in the mission and stuff like that. It's not that it's bad, the actual mission just doesn't have a lot to offer in this part of the world. The chemistry with the team is fun, you get some of them forming some bonds and all that, but it's a very unremarkable overall plot to the season. The greatness of the season comes from the flashbacks. The season is sort of formatted that each member of the team gets their own episode, where their backstory is revealed in flashbacks for about half the episode, and the other half of the episode is the present day plot with the mission. And some of these flashbacks are so emotional and take very silly and one-dimensional characters up to this point and makes you love them. Weasel's episode was so impressive. This character was really just a joke character up to this point, and they make him so tragic and misunderstood, what capacity for good he has, and how his appearance makes him hated and misjudged. That series of events with the kids was heartbreaking. G.I. Robot also has some beautiful moments with his humanity inside him and his loneliness. His death scene and leading up to it was so beautiful. Dr. Phosphorus has some great stuff in there too. James Gunn is so good at making really silly characters that are so dark, have so much more to them than you'd expect. It gives so much dimension and depth to get invested in. So this season is characters over story for me. The overall plot is serviceable but unmemorable, but the flashback scenes and characters Gunn introduced here pack so much emotion and balance that with the silliness and fun of the characters. As a little weekly Suicide Squad show with some amazing flashbacks, I enjoyed this when it came out, and thinking back on those flashbacks, they really do stick in your mind. My easy number one though for this DCU so far is Superman. I did just rewatch this movie and I forgot how good it is. I think I liked it even more than I did last year. There's just so much hope and optimism in this movie. David Cornsweet as Superman is magnificent. Sure, you don't get much of him as Clark Kent the reporter here, but his characterization is wonderful. He's corny and silly, but so genuine, hopeful. He loves saving people. He inspires hope to people who are scared. There's lines here in dialogue he has with characters like Lois Lane and his parents that capture the beauty of this character so well. He's a man with so much power, but he's a human deep down that makes mistakes and isn't perfect, but he does the right thing and has an incredible heart. It's impossible to not get invested in this character, and he gets a complicated arc as well with his biological parents and him dealing with his place and purpose on Earth. He was sent for a different reason than he believed, but he wants to carry out his own destiny and do the right thing with his powers, and that's what matters. That's what makes him a good man. Rachel Brosnahan as Lois Lane is excellent as well. The chemistry and bond between them, some of their dialogue scenes are the best parts of the movie. The dialogue they have before Clark turns himself into the government is one of the best scenes of the movie. And Lois is engaging herself in her part of the story and the more journalist side of things, uncovering the truth and getting in on things to also do the right thing and seek justice. Nicholas Hoult as Lex Luthor is one of the best comic book movie villains in the last few years. He's becoming one of my favorites, period. Hoult's pettiness, how creepily eccentric and nasty he is, how evil they make this character, the sense of insecurity that makes him so hateful. It makes Superman getting him and stopping his plot, with the Daily Planet also sharing the news and uncovering his plot as well, so rewarding. The world this film sets up is so colorful, the action is silly with his powers at points, but in an endearing way that also has more brutal moments. The laser eyes and flying effects look great. The city of Metropolis has the right look of being like a real-world city, but with the gold and the big Daily Planet globe and stuff like that, it looks otherworldly also. The score from John Murphy and Dave Fleming is so triumphant, and used John Williams' theme so well to make it its own thing also. For more side characters, Mr. Terrific was awesome here, the whole Justice Gang was a welcome addition. Everything from the hopeful tone, the tremendous characterization as Superman and all his side characters and villains that get set up in this film, the world it takes place in, and the story of purpose and the power of doing the right thing. I love this movie. I'm so glad I rewatched this. It would have been my number one regardless, but this rewatch really reminded me how great this film is. It's easily my favorite project in James Gunn's DCU so far. That's going to be it for me today on Not Quite My Tempo with Chris. I'll be back on Saturday with a review for Young Washington, but until then, enjoy.